Joining us right now, Dr. Walid Phares. He's a Fox News contributor, co-secretary general of the Transatlantic Parliamentary Group on Counterterrorism, also author of The Coming Revolution. That's a new book coming out on March 18th. His new book coming out on March 18th. March 18th, The Lost Spring. Excuse me, Dr. Phares, for messing up your books there. Stop writing so many books. It's hard to keep them straight.
That is true, and you forgot about the French one that I published, but that's okay.
We're not very big in Paris, but we're working on that. We want to talk to you about Ukraine. That's why I originally brought you on, of course, because unbelievable events over the last couple of days. But really quickly, we want to touch on Egypt and what is been announced here just in the last 2 hours, that the government that the army has backed for the last 7 months there has announced this morning that it will resign. Yeah. What does that mean?
What does that mean? What are the implications of that?
Of resigning, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah, the entire government in Egypt is now stepping down.
Well, this is part of the roadmap. This is in preparation for two things: for what will become a presidential election, and on the other hand, a legislative election, plus the fact that now that the political parties have taken all the time since last June to organize, they would like to be able to form coalitions. So this is not something that I think will stop the democratic process. That's in preparation for the democratic process.
Great. Okay, thanks for that.
All right.
And let's swing to Ukraine. Speaking of turmoil and the democratic process, we did have a democratically elected president there, but he was wildly unpopular. Cries of corruption and almost dictator-like policies, and the people's voice ultimately won out after much bloodshed. What's next for the Ukraine, and what should the U.S. do about it?
There is one thing that we need to explain to the public opinion. In my view, we are not talking anymore of one Ukraine that sometimes goes to the west and sometimes goes to the east. What we're talking about now are two Ukraine. All the provinces between Odessa all the way to the borders of Poland and Slovakia, this is about 68, 70, maybe 72% of Ukraine. This is traditional, purely Ukraine, and it's Catholic. It's mostly farmland. This is pro-Western areas. This is the group that ousted the president. Eastern Ukraine, from Odessa all the way to the Russian border, that includes the Crimea, that has a majority of Orthodox. There is an ethnic group of Russians, but globally speaking, they're closer to the Russians. So now what we're talking about is how to accommodate both. Every time one group would rule, the other would rise, and we saw it over the past 18 years now. At this point in time, what the United States and Europe should be doing would be to support the process in Kiev, because now there is a majority in parliament that ousted the president, is forming the government. There will be elections probably in about a few weeks from now, and at the same time telling them, do not try to invade the other side of Ukraine. And I am very careful here, because Crimea, Sevastopol, those ports are national security issues for the Russians. The better way would be to build democracy in Western Ukraine, slowly later engage with the civil society of Eastern Ukraine. I know it's complicated, but it's at least clearer than just thinking Ukraine is one, and sometimes it's one by one or the other group.
You have to think of it as two parts, and how do you bring those two parts together? Well, who's in charge right now? You know, they say nature abhors a vacuum. And in politics, when you have a vacuum, it's very unstable. Who's in charge? Who's in control? Who's likely to emerge as the new leaders?
You're absolutely right. The vacuum now is the most dangerous thing in Ukraine. In the western part, the large Ukraine, the one that we're going to be working with, you have a block of members of parliament, and they have now appointed a prime minister. Of course, Tishimenko will be in charge somewhat in an interim way. I don't think she's going to be there for a long period of time. She had many, many problems, but she's a unifying force right now. So I think when they will organize their elections, we're going to see emerging a new president, a new prime minister, and a parliament. I wouldn't be very worried about that side. The other side, the president is running away. The former president is running away.
Right.
So we're going to see, unfortunately, more Russian direct influence in that other part of Ukraine.
Yeah, Yankovic is on the lam and has been reportedly been seen in the Crimean Peninsula area.
Well, that's exactly what we were talking about. That area is almost a military security area for Russia. This is where the entire Southern Fleet of Russia operates. This is where they get to the Mediterranean. If that changes for them, it would change basically the whole world balance of power. So we've got to be very careful. Putin now is freed from the Olympics. He's back, and I'm sure he's now calculating every inch. So we need to give a good advice to Western Ukraine. You got what you wanted. Let's work with you, and let's work with the Russians later on how to solve the issue of the Crimean area.
Our guest is Dr. Walid Phares, Fox News contributor, and we're talking about what's going on in Ukraine. You keep talking about Western and Eastern Ukraine, but it is one nation. It's one square on that chessboard there, connecting Russia in the east to Europe in the west. And Russians know how to play chess pretty well. Vladimir Putin has once said that the collapse of the Soviet Union was the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. Wouldn't he just love to bring the Ukraine back into the Russian fold? Are we up to that chess match in the West?
Well, if you're asking me about our foreign policy, that's a different planet here, Washington. We are in trouble around the world, not just with regard to Ukraine. Look what we've done with Egypt. Just mentioned that. Syria, we're not able to do much. Iraq is going back to what it was, before. And with Iran, this nuclear deal is not working, in my view. Let alone Venezuela, we're not even recognizing that there is an uprising. So when it comes to U.S. policy, I'm concerned that Putin will work it much better. He has done so in the past. And we may find ourselves having to make very hard choices if he wants to reclaim all of Ukraine. That's why I have recommended, and I did so also to members of Congress, that we are very pragmatic, that we advise the administration to do the right thing, because one thing is Syria and another thing is battling with the Russians in Ukraine.
Dr. Walid Phares, thank you so much for joining us. Always great stuff, and we will keep watching it. It's a story that's developing all day long, all